people are building houses for like $30,000 but try and sell it for $200,000. That's ridiculous. That's greed. It's got nothing to do with value. So those conversations are fascinating. You try and make sure the seller understands what you're trying to do as you package the product, but you also trying to also make the buyer understand. The thing about real estate is about supply and demand. We know about the Northwest with Mount Hampden.
So new parliament.
About the West, Nyabira, we've got some development in Nyabira there that are quite affordable, that one can see how...
Welcome everyone to another episode of Moments with Nyengeterai. I just want to say thank you to all the viewers and the community. The community is really growing. I'm so excited because the questions that you're sending in our inbox, the things that you want to learn, the people that you want to come on air, we're trying our best to get them. And today we have a returning resident, should I say? Today we have a guest. My guest is Mike. Mike, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me today.
So Mike is a returning resident, right?
I am.
I think tell us a bit about yourself. Tell our viewers a bit.
Okay, so I am Mike Tashaya. I am now back in Zimbabwe, but I was in the UK for 27 years. I went as an A-level student and never really got to come back. There was never the right time to do that. So my whole adult life has been over there, first car, university, first job, all that sort of stuff. I am a trained marketer. Been doing that since university. I actually wanted to do psychology or be a psychologist. That's what I studied at university, but I then fell out of love with that mid-course, but completed it. But I also happened to be working in one of British Telecom's call centers during my studies. And they kindly put me on their graduate program then after graduating. That's how marketing happened, or how marketing discovered me. And it was a perfect fit, and I've been marketing ever since, really. I then did find my niche in real estate, working with developers, housing associations, and essentially I ended up being very interested in the real estate space in Zim. And over the years, I've just been sort of looking at it and trying to figure out how I could plug into it. While at the same time, really homesick and wanting to come back. So I made that plan a good 5 years or so ago and executed it. I'm here now. The other side of me, as far as the UK or the diaspora is concerned, is that I've been involved in a lot of community engagement programs, and also things like the Zimfest, the Zim Thrives, and all these platforms which bring or showcase amazing Zimbabweans. And we get to get the people on the ground to sort of tap into some of those sort of skill sets that they have. And at the same time, Zimfest, for example, was a good platform that worked for nostalgic Zimbos in the diaspora. So we meet once a year for a braai and a drink, and dance some music. And that is still happening today. It's much bigger now, but I'm not involved with it anymore. So my thing is really real estate, community engagement, and now a returnee. I hope that can be of value.
So coming back, let's start there. How has coming back home been for you? I mean, you've been away for half your adult life. In fact, your adult life.
Pretty much.
You went when you were a
teenager. Yeah.
Really. So your whole adult life was overseas. Then you come back to Zim. Okay, before I get to that, in between, did you ever come back home for any length of time?
Absolutely. So I did come back during the GNU. It looked like the right thing to do at the time, and it was amazing. I think we got a taste of what a good Zimbabwe would look like. I think there's a solid couple of years during that period where it was amazing. So I got a taste of that. And then obviously the elections happened 2013, and things changed pretty quickly. So I went back. But I've always come back. I've always had projects here. I've always had things that connected me with just being on the ground. I'm from Gokwe, and my family, and we've always had something in terms of whether it's farming or my dad runs some education institutions there, stuff like that. So I've always been very connected with the ground.
And now coming back, the real move. I mean, before you'd come, go.
Yeah.
Now the real move. How has, settling in, how has that been? Reconnecting with friends, family, how has that been?
So the transition has been fascinating. I didn't plan how it would go. The only thing I prepared myself for was failure. So you're always good to prepare to fail. But this time...
You prepared yourself to fail?
I did. I was not that I was going to fail, but
I know.
Ready for it. Manage that situation.
Okay.
And I think that's very, very important to do. So I prepared for that. I also accepted a lot of things. I accepted that our government is not always the best. So they'll get a lot of things wrong. They'll get some things right as well. So I accepted that. I also accepted that we probably are in one-party state, if I can say that. I'm not apologetic of it. I think we have weak opposition. I've said this for a long time, but they are in a very difficult environment. So I accepted that our politics is not great. So my solution was to focus on what I can control and what I'm good at, which is real estate, which is marketing. And I'm also an employee, a career employee. I'm not an entrepreneur, even though I've run business before, but I count myself to be very effective as an employee, accountable to somebody or corporate. So I've been corporate a long time, a proper corporate junkie. And I thought the best way to really make Zim work was to plug into that and add value at that level, which was very lucky that I managed to find the vehicle to do that, the company I work for. And that's really gone fantastically well. And just going back to failure, my thinking was that if things didn't go well, I can just go back to Gokwe and sit on my dad's way for a couple of months and regroup and look, find something else to do. But point being, I'm not going back. Really, that's what it is. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I like the fact that you said you've come in, you've plugged yourself in, and I think a lot of people struggle with just plugging themselves and finding themselves. You said you're not an entrepreneur, but you're an intrapreneur. You work better in an organization and you add value in an organization. Take me back, your marketing background. You said that marketing found you. Take me through that.
So, talent-wise, I suppose just my nature. I come from a family that's very famous for leadership. My siblings, everywhere they've gone, they've always managed to stand out in those groups and become president of something or the manager of something. Or that came from my dad, who is this inspirational philanthropist in Gokwe, and I seem to have also inherited that. So I've always been in situations whereby I end up having to manage those situations or running the group or things like that. So I've run and owned a digital marketing agency, for example. That's what I was doing when I came back in 2011. Being part of a web development agency, so co-ownership. I've sort of co-founded a community engagement called Zim Thrive, which is a platform to showcase outstanding Zimbabwean talent globally and, get the ground to benefit from it. So I always find myself sort of doing that. So even within corporate setups, always find myself in those management or leadership positions. And even plugging myself now with the company I'm working for here on the ground, I'm in that leadership role and very good at driving teams and packaging products, for example. This is what I really do well. So it is entrepreneurial. I probably can survive in either of those environments, but I feel more comfortable within a team family structure, and, just doing some really exciting things that people sort of take notice of. Yeah.
As you're talking, the one thing that that keeps coming out is your family roots, your dad. Take me through how you grew up, your childhood, how family was and how you grew up and how it influenced who you are, and what are the learnings that you have from your childhood?
Okay, so I probably said a few times, I'm from Gokwe, a proper rural center, Chepo. My dad.
My mom is from Gokwe.
Oh, really? Oh, there you go. She's brought us together. So, we grew. So my dad was a priest, or is a priest, retired priest, Anglican church.
Oh,
yes. Best church in the world, right? And my mom was a primary school teacher, like proper kindergarten, grade 1 to 3. But she was also a music teacher, very, very gifted musically. So as a family setup, we always used to have that coming together of, the music side, where actually the family choir, so we always used to be involved, big events. Those are, family choir engagement, but I kind of think, anyway, which made my dad very proud. But my dad is just a leader. I know he was a priest, but he also had a lot of extracurricular activities. So he did a lot of farming. He grew a lot of cotton. So I'm proud of cotton farming. He had a horticultural garden, large scale orchard. And then he also started an orphanage in 1980. Then there's 2 schools, a primary school and the girls' high school boarding. So there's a lot of activity and projects around his work. Part of his ministry was in faith healing, which was something that really, really fascinated me as a young boy, because I was fascinated by behavior, which is what led me to study psychology. That makes sense. So you see people coming, certain behavioral defects or behavioral issues, and seemingly get healed and go back to wherever they were doing, and fully bodied. That makes sense. So I grew up with that, and you'd find that one thing our parents always encouraged us was to be responsible. I went to boarding grade 1, really young, white school, tough environment, but I'd swim, so I got responsible very early. So all my school was pretty much boarding. And then obviously going to the UK, the teenager from A levels on my own sort of thing. So I've always been able to stand on my own sort of thing. So that built me to be what I am today. I can pretty much survive most situations. And my siblings have gone on to sort of be those outstanding people within society as well, in their own right, different industries, obviously. So there's a lot in me that I've benefited from the family that I grew up in. And I think the foundation of being a rural guy, I'm very proud Gokwean, that's home, type thing, So even when I used to come from the UK on holiday, literally just airport, get a car, Gokwe. Happy place, for there's nothing I rather could offer me that I didn't already know, So I'm a very sociable person. I love meeting new people. I love making new friends. I have an online profile, as you know, which has been based on some of my community engagement activities. And I've made so many friends over the years from just being that person who is happy to sit down for a conversation and have a laugh, have a drink, and talk about the future. That's who I am.
So I'm just listening to you, and I'm just hearing about the impact that your dad made, obviously, in the community and with you guys. Just give me 3 life lessons that your dad taught you.
Well, to be able to fend for yourself, so that is survive in any environment, to be prayerful. I believe that prayer is one of the most powerful weapons you could ever have over anything. Sadly, I'm not that prayerful, but I learned it from him, and it's something that I always try and improve. And then wellness or well-being or just being healthy. So I'm a fitness freak. I always make sure that I eat well, I eat on time. And that was, just that discipline around your well-being, something you taught us very, very well.
Oh, wow. So at 17, how did you go to the UK? It's like weird. I know most people would either go to the UK after A-level, they went to uni. You went to the UK when you were in high school.
Yeah.
How? From Gokwe to the UK.
Right. I was quite lucky that when I got to the UK, I went to a very small rural town called Hereford.
How did you even go there? What made you want to leave?
This decision was made for me.
Oh.
At that age. I wasn't going to say no, though, obviously. But my dad had one of his very best friends, because he had done the UK in the late 70s, early 80s. So he had a whole friendship base. And he'd gone for his studies there as well. So one of his friends was a doctor, said he would accommodate me. So literally Hereford is where this family was based. And that was that. The decision was just made pretty quickly while I was preparing to actually go for my A-levels. So Nagatubane and did big part of my A-levels here before actually going and starting in the September. September then. So it all happened over a few weeks, few months. And that's how I ended up in the UK.
Wow. And how did that shape?
So it was mid-90s, mid to late 90s, yeah.
How did that shape the man that you are today?
So this little village was great, It was on the Welsh borders. They didn't have a lot of black folks then. I played rugby, and that was the sport that sort of got me plugged into that society. I was pretty good at it, so I made friends very quickly. But at the same time, you'd have situations whereby you probably are the only black kid in school, or in the Philippines, they actually lived in a small village, and you are kind of isolated quite a bit, because I had to get on a bus or train to see other black folks, like in Birmingham, for example. But I did love that rural life, because I was coming from a rural area myself, and I think it helped me understand the British culture better than if I'd been plugged into centre of London, coming from Gokwe. That would have been a major cultural shock, I think, which a lot of people actually go through. So I had a nice introduction to British society and understanding their traditions. And I also learned to look after myself in terms of cooking after myself, doing my own laundry, do my own shopping. I bought my own first loaf of bread in the UK. Growing up, everything was sort of done for you and stuff. I was responsible. I was the last born, and was very close to my mom. So there's a lot of things I could do before I went there. And there are a lot of things that you needed to be able to do, like, the independence of driving a car. And because over there, you are left on your own to sort of...
To fend for yourself.
Get on with it. No one is going to sort of run around for you. So that's really... gave me a really good foundation. By the time I went to university and did other things, I was really in the system and just trying to figure out what I needed to do, what I needed to study, and where to go, and things like that. Yeah.
And then how did you get into real estate? You were talking about psychology, then marketing found you, then now real estate. How did you get into real estate? And how is the real estate in the UK compared to the real estate here in Zim? Yeah,
so I've been marketing for quite a long time. I think I started to go into that real estate space after coming back from here, after the move. So my first job when I got back to the UK, I was working for security company within construction. So that was my intro into construction space. And then changed from networking, and I was head of marketing then. And just that it opened me up to different house builders, property developers, housing associations. And I just started to get jobs within those spaces. But I was going there as a marketer. What then happened is I decided to formalize my knowledge of marketing within real estate. Went back to uni and I did program around property development and real estate and property management and stuff. So that really sort of firmed it up. And all I was doing then was just focusing on jobs that got me close to building new homes. So I became a land and new home specialist. And what that means is that developers will come to you and say, look, we are thinking of buying a piece of land in this location. Can you have a look at it for us and put together a report? Tell us whether it's sellable, is there demand, So I started doing those market assessments and monthly reports for people to build. They were happy with that, then they'll buy the land and they'll build. And then obviously my skill set then would take me to package the product for the market and sell it for them. It's just a proper full cycle, hand over the keys to the buyer and things like that. I really enjoyed it. It's the prospect of, because real estate, a house would be the biggest ever investment you make in your life. So being part of the process of doing that for somebody and then handing them the keys with their first home, it's very rewarding. It's seeing someone so happy that they have achieved this. They've bought a home and they're on the property ladder. It stood out to me right now. If someone buys their home for the first time, I probably get more excited than they do. So I love that part of the job. And being in Zim now is fascinating because it's a very different real estate space. Nothing I've ever experienced in my life because our economy is what it is. We're always in a cash society. So you're getting people coming to buy a property with money in a briefcase, and you're counting it. Whereas we used to, or electronic transfers and things like that. The values, I think we had that conversation earlier, property is very expensive. And that's how I used to view it while I was still over there. But now that I am actually in it, I try and understand it. In some cases, even justify it, why the values of that. But you also advise the sellers and try and influence the market, say, your values are unrealistic in terms of what you're asking for. Some people are building houses for like $30,000 US, but try and sell it for 200,000. That's ridiculous. That's greed. It's got nothing to do with value. So those conversations are fascinating. You try and make sure the seller understands what you're trying to do as you package the product, but you also trying to also make the buyer understand. The thing about real estate is about supply and demand. If you put something on the market in Zimbabwe, there will be someone to buy it. Always. Even if it's an insane value, someone will be there to pay this. You're not going to turn down money because the product is too expensive. No, you're going to take the money and process the sale. But that's what it is. That the other thing of me coming back is I feel, I actually know that there's what I like to call diaspora maturity, in the sense that we have diasporans now who have been in the UK or the diaspora 20 plus years. For me, that's the maturity I'm talking about. All of those people are looking at retirement in the next 5, 10, 15 years. They do want to retire out there. I can tell you that. And this is conversations I've had over the last 20 years. Everybody thinks of coming home. But a lot of things have to align for them. And some of those things that they have aligned for them are security, diaspora-friendly property, somewhere we feel they've got all the basic amenities that they need. So what we need to do as developers now in Zimbabwe is to generate and create and build those diaspora-friendly products. But not only that, we also need to make sure that the banks and the lenders facilitate good financial models or mortgages that work well with other. But diasporans will never come with money in a briefcase. It doesn't work like that. They will always want, those terms. So we are working with banks a lot. They are stuck in a difficult place because us here, we don't bank with banks. We bank with tins and vaults and under the mattress kind of transactions.
And property.
And because
that's how most of us hold our value, by buying property.
But what I'm trying to justify is why then banks end up having very high mortgage rates. It's because they also are trying to make some money, But their rates now become insane because the diaspora can handle mortgage rates that are 10 to 15%, when they're used to 3-4%, So I am, however, quite optimistic in terms of the lenders and the banks here, in that a lot of them are starting to recruit ex-diasporans. Leadership of some banks is, am I allowed to name banks? Or, like CBZ.
CBZ has a lot of, they've got.
So their leadership is ex-diaspora, most of it. So I'm optimistic that they have lived out there, and they will be working right now very hard to come up with products that they know that the diaspora will try and make an effort to sort of afford. So, and now with us working for estate agents and developers, we will come together at some point and come up with products that work for the diaspora, which is maturing and looking to come back. I'm already creating concepts that are very diaspora friendly, because I know that's the market that really works. For example, we are organizing a property showcase in the UK in July. Where we are taking the industry to the market to showcase. So, but we also give them a platform to ask questions about the industry. Why is property so expensive? Why are mortgage rates so high? And then I think it's important to be engaged in that conversation. Panongo Toran and verbal assaults, social media. Yeah. Let's have the conversation and let's try and get some solutions while we have this conversation. At the same time, obviously, in every conversation, we'll be taking our stock to showcase what we have, what's coming in our pipelines, and ensure that we listen to what they are looking for, what the expectations are in terms of investing in real estate in Zimbabwe. So that part is quite exciting for me. There'll be quite a lot of that stuff going on.
So what about, let's say, let's talk property now. A first-time young man, I was talking to one of my guys, and he was saying, what does it take for me to buy a property? He's young, he's single,
okay,
but he wants to buy. But it seems like a pipe dream for most of the youngsters in Zim now.
Yeah, it is.
What would your advice be in terms of home ownership for them? How should they start? Where should they start?
Well, employment, which is hard in itself. So if you can't get a job, you've got to be resourceful. So what I'm talking about is saving. You've got to have savings, because you need that deposit regardless. Whether it's a deposit for a fully built house or deposit for a stand, you need to have a pot of money. So that's the sort of most critical of things one has to do. And then just understanding, one thing that we say in the UK is about location. Where do you want to buy? How much do you want to save? Have that plan of what you really need to achieve when it comes to getting on the property ladder. It's a very difficult space to be able to save. But people don't realize this, even in the UK, is very difficult to save. So it's a very difficult environment because there's a lot of tax, there's a lot of bills, there's a lot of finance. The car, you don't own it outright in most cases. You probably have it on finance, mortgage. So it's very difficult to save. So I would say the most primary aspect of getting on that route to buying a home is making sure you have that income, that regular income. Firstly, to save, and then to either pay the terms or pay the mortgage, or if you're lucky, you save enough to come and buy a property with all the money in a briefcase. So anything else, I think, falls down to what you then decide you want to buy in terms of your budget.
So let's say, okay, first time, I'm young. I'm young. I'm single. I I know that I can't buy maybe a house in Florida or in Chizzy right now, but I want to start somewhere. I want to at least own something. What would you advise? I mean, from coming from your background and having now seen the Zimbabwean market, what would you advise to someone? Because I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to have a property of some sort. They want to start somewhere. So I'm single. Where can I start? So at least I know that in 10 years' time, I want a house in Chizzy or in whatever years. But where can I start?
In terms of looking for land, you mean? I mean,
what can I start with that will make sure that at least I have a property? What can I start with? Let's say I'm just a general worker. What can I start with? Where can I start?
Because back to saving, make sure general worker means you're in a job. General worker means that you have some sort of income coming in. Definitely need to save that. But at that level, you probably can't afford a lot of the central suburbs or northern suburbs within them. So you can decide that maybe let me get something that is outside our toll gates radius, for example, where it gets a bit cheaper, in my rural district councils. Or look to supplement your income with a second job or a side hustle, as they call it, to sort of fill up that pot. Because I think real estate will always remain as the most bankable thing you can do in your life. When I say real estate, I say money, I say banking. In the Marine, I'm not going to go and put it in Barclays. I'm going to invest in a piece of land. Maybe to look at it, maybe let it gain value and things like that. So look at getting the smallest piece of land you possibly can afford with whatever you have and let it gain value, It's doable in sort of Harare versus Southern Harare, it's got some quite affordable piece of land where you can pay maybe 20-30% deposit, pay terms of a 12-month period. Already you're a landowner then. The way Harare is changing right now is incredible because of all the developments that are set up. I thought I was coming from a pitch earlier. Is something that is the airport side, where that part of town over the next 5-10 years, I don't know if I can say this, it's almost like insider trading. That side of town is going to really expand and ignite quite significantly. So if you are looking to buy it, do it now, and just hold. We know about the Northwest with Mount Hamden.
So new parliament.
About the West, Nyabira, we've got some development in Nyabira there that are quite affordable, that one can see how they can sort of tap into getting something then, just raise that deposit. But that's the most important thing. Get that deposit and just buy. And then we're talking about terms now. That's what I would encourage. Building becomes out of the question because you probably need to save a lot more money to then build that structure while you're paying off the land that you own. I'm not a big fan of buying land. I prefer buying off-plan properties, and I'm paying for something that's already been designed and I'm just waiting to get my keys. That's the culture I'm coming from. That's something I'm trying to also push through with a lot of the projects that I'm running at the minute.
What's the advantage of doing that? What's the advantage of that route? I mean, I've seen the advantage, but I want our viewers.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people have this perspective that I want to buy land. Then but I've bought into a space where it was off-plan. The plan was there. You choose either a unit with this bit or that design. And and it's easy. It's easier because it finishes everything.
You decide. Yeah. A lot of developers give you the choice of deciding on the finishes that you want. Once you see the floor plans and the spec for the property, what scares me about my standards, just to push through my point, is you can go and buy a stand in a development, and there's no architectural guidelines, so you're not going to know what your neighbor is going to build at all. And some of the structures I've seen I've seen that discipline or that control of what to build. It's quite scary, some really ugly things. But at the same time, those sort of structures can affect the whole street or the whole neighborhood, including bringing the price down because you're a neighbor to some ugly looking item. So that's one thing. I don't know if I have the stomach. Some people are different. Stomach and energy to build my own home. I kind of also associate it with it's vanity versus sanity sort of argument. Maybe because I work in the industry, so I would choose the best, the best architect or the best property developer to do that job for me, and I'll pay that. So I'd rather we were able to do that. That's what the first world does now. People don't buy land in the UK or in the States. They buy in within developments, and all the work is that all you're doing is coming with your rucksack and moving it in your home. You pay a bit more, obviously, but there's not as much admin as actually doing the building yourself. Busy lives. But I get the benefits of wanting to build your own thing because you want to put your buy here and do that. But it's the vanity thing for me. Yeah.
But now you're doing a lot of projects in the northern suburbs. What about that side of town?
Oh, no.
Why are we not doing clusters or whatever, those developments so that anyone in any environment can afford, but a decent house? Because then at least it's something I think is being built by a developer, even if it's that side of town, the other side of town, but it's being built well. Why is it that there's not that much of it happening?
Okay, well, you corrected yourself there. So there are developments in the south, a lot, and a lot cheaper than the ones in the north. We also have projects that are outside Harare. I'm all for outside Harare because I'm a big fan I'm passionate about affordable housing. So you'll find that values are normalized or are normal in these smaller cities, the Marondera, Sape, Ontario. We've got projects in these cities, by the way. We've got Kwekwe, we've got Gweru, we've got quite a bit coming up in Bulawayo as well now. So there is a lot of real estate in Zim right now, and there's a lot of developers that are really coming up with some really good projects. And the affordable housing angle is beginning to come into it a little bit. You find that high density is becoming quite hot now. If you notice any high density developments, they are selling super fast, more than low density. So high density back, and big market of that is actually diaspora as well, for high density. They're investing in high density. So that's why I keep saying I'm very optimistic about where real estate and construction is headed. Harare is too heavy. It's cluster crazy. Anybody gets a bit of money, though, start clusters. There's densification that I don't like. People are building ghettos within. Kudara, you would have one neighbor, but now you wake up with 22 neighbors, so that I don't like subdivisions. And there's so much land in Zim where we can just spread out and build. Everyone is building around that. It's a nightmare. So the north is very different to what it was 30 years ago. As in North Harare. That's where a lot of the money is being made. Councils as well, because obviously they make money from subdividing a piece of land. So for each new piece of land created, they get paid. And obviously the landowner is making money from that. So it's all about making money, but we're not thinking about the quality of life. We're not thinking about lifestyle. We're not thinking about a lot of things that people can benefit from just, if you had your 1 acre piece of land, keep it as a 1 acre piece of land, But I think we had it in the right direction. I studied the real estate space in Zim quite a long time before coming. Ever since I discovered it as a passion of mine, while I was over there, and now I'm looking at it and I'm actually in it. And the bigger picture for me is to create products that nurses and teachers and doctors can get themselves on the property ladder. The banks obviously have to help in this regard, but we need everyone to be able to be in employment where the employer is able to help you buy a property, whether it's a 2-bed house, a 1-bedroom flat, or something. We have a housing crisis in Zimbabwe, in Africa. We actually really do. Something we really need to think about quite a lot. And I know there are some insurance companies and some banks that are really seriously looking at that. And I think over the next 2-3 years, maybe 5, we'll start seeing some products that are for everybody. We'll do the big ones, obviously, to fundraise, but the smaller ones for everybody, I think they'll start coming to the market pretty soon. Yeah.
So if someone is looking for a property to buy and they are not, let's say they haven't met you and there's just a developer who they've just seen and they say, oh, I want to go and buy. What are the things they should look out for when buying a new property?
Or as a buyer, what should you look
As a buyer, let's say I haven't seen Mike.
Yeah.
Why? And then there's a developer who's developing and they've got their property.
Yeah. And
then I just want, I'm like, oh, okay, I can afford. Yeah. But what are the things that I must look out for? Because I think, I'll tell you this, because we were burnt. We bought into this estate.
I was just going into that, yeah.
That looked really, really nice. I mean, it really looked nice. We bought into the estate. Our tenant moves in and the roof is leaking. The things are falling. So what are the things that people should look out for as they buying into a property?
Well, before we even look at the physical aspect of the property, we need to look at the legal side of it. You know, one thing, especially people in the diaspora, what some people here as well have been bent on a lot is paperwork. So title deeds, you know.
What if they create title deeds? How do I know they are real?
You need to make sure it's an original document. You need to take it to the registry to confirm it. It's a lot of things. Always use a credible estate agent. Or don't use banana, use a credible estate agent. So you need, title deeds. Kanapaka subdivision, you need to make sure you got that permit, original document, not a photocopy. And you also need to make sure that whoever you're dealing with, even if it's from a proper estate agent, they are licensed, So clear that. Make sure you've got that in the file. And then when it comes, if you're over there or over here, you need a project manager on the job. Somebody who, if it's not yourself and you're not here, then somebody who looks in every day and reports to you. The builder also needs to be reporting to you with every stage and video evidence or picture evidence and things like that. And then, most importantly, inspecting the property. In construction, there's a term called snagging. So you snag, looking at every aspect of the property to make sure the ceiling is put right, there are no cracks, there's no, those inspections are very, very important. There's some people actually do that snagging for a living.
I was about to say, do I do that or is there people?
You need someone who, because you won't have the eye for it. So employ someone to come in and have a look to make sure everything is as it should. Brickwork, this goes back to the actual beginning of the project to make sure it's good. Foundation, people are building wetlands these days. Foundation is great. I mean, don't buy wetland if you can avoid it. But if it happens, that's where it is. Make sure the foundation is world standard. So there's a long checklist. Always seek advice to someone who actually knows. Definitely use estate agents because if something goes wrong, they are liable. They're the one who got it wrong, not you. If the paperwork is wrong, it's on them. So they are licensed by the EAC to help buyers make the right decisions, and they also look after the sellers themselves. It's getting better. I mean, the noise I used to hear all us over there about multiple buyers on a piece of land, it's not as much. I think the government has sort of tried quite a lot on that to kind of fix that, but it's still there. So you have to be very, very careful. But just to answer your question, I think I probably answered quite a bit now, but just the legal side, make sure all the paperwork is solid and original documents. And then make sure the property gets inspected. You monitor the builds all the way, the whole program. And make sure before you accept the keys and, that final line, that a full snagging inspection is done. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Just to close us off, what are I guess you've kind of told me what are the things that people should look out for, but I'm just saying that what are the lessons that you have learned from being in property, what are the life lessons that you have learned that people should take into consideration?
Yeah. Well, as consumer, I'm passionate about real estate and property, and I think I've said this already. It's going to be the biggest purchase you make in your life. So make sure you enjoy that process. You know, buying a home is very stressful. I don't know this from just finding the place, saving the money, and then the stress of the conveyancing process and these extra charges. It's a very stressful process, you know. So if you can find a balance of actually finding the place and finding the property, which is always, yay, I found it, and then enjoying that build program and then finally getting your keys and throwing the biggest party, then try and enjoy the experience. I always say, you know, that's the best feeling you ever get in your life when you get those keys, you know. It has taught me, myself anyway, to just be very grateful of the position I have in life. Privilege, you know, people look at privilege negatively sometimes, but if you create your own privilege and you kind of like get to that point, you know, never be apologetic of it. You did it yourself, you know. So we should always try and aspire for great things. And real estate is that's one space that anyone can be a homeowner. And we can all just try doing that by good financial planning, you know, good saving, and building that dream home that you've always wanted. It's very achievable.
Okay. Actually could go on. I think if it wasn't for the fact that we're running out of time, I still have so many questions that I know. And a lot of people, because the thing is, we never really get, a lot of people never really get information about property. You just think in your head, I want to have a house. Yeah. But you forget about the little things that go into buying a house. Yeah. And also just, I mean, like things that you're talking about, that you don't necessarily have to have a big land. You just have to have a good home built well. You know, things like that, I think are the things that the conversation that people need to be having.
That's exactly.
Yeah, it's not readily available.
No, it's not.
And people need to have it, and these conversations need to be had.
I think it should be taught in school. I think it should be those social subjects that you have half an hour a week in high school to talk about simple things like financial planning, home ownership. You know, it's just for that basic knowledge of how can one buy a house. You shouldn't learn about that after you graduate from university. But it seems like such a pipe dream, owning a home, when there's a lot of things you can do yourself. You know, you just checklist, you're going to work in an ending, just off the period of time. It doesn't matter whether you buy the house when you're 50 or when you're 25. It's just about just being methodical and just knowing what you need to do.
And also just as you're talking, I'm just thinking, besides that buying, it's even getting into real estate. I mean, and I tell you, a lot of people don't think I want to I want to get into real estate. It's not one of those careers because people don't really understand it, don't really know about it, you know.
So when people hear about real estate and estate agents, they're just thinking, just commission, the sales. But I'll tell you, the best salesperson is someone who's passionate about the product they're selling. When I recruit, I'm not looking at the CV and I'm a master. I'm looking at how passionate are they about the actual product and real estate. And a lot of developers, when they give mandates to estate agents or sales agents, they are thinking about, do they understand my products and putting it to market? And that's what's very, very important. That's enthusiasm that comes from that selling. A lot of people buy something because of the person, not because of the house, because of the person. If you do a good job, then you're going to get a lot of sales. So I'm always looking for those people who are passionate about what they're selling. That's what you don't teach in school. That's within.
Okay, to close us off, our fun five. Right. What's your favorite color and why?
Blue. I have always associated blue with peace and blue skies. It normalizes my well-being. So I like blue.
Okay.
So my wedding color was yellow, so it was interesting.
Oh, it's your wedding color? Yellow is a happy color.
It is.
I'm a happy person.
It is, yeah.
Favorite animal and why?
A lion, majestic. It's ruthless at the same time. It's brutal, but it's just aura of just authority.
I love the lion. What are you reading currently?
I am reading a book by a friend of mine that talks about, he's writing a letter to yourself. So it's called Dear Self. Fantastic.
Oh, wow. It must be interesting. I'll put it on my reading list.
Yeah.
I love reading.
I'll send you a copy.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
Shawshank Redemption.
Really?
It really is. I think it's the best movie ever made.
Wow. And genre of music?
Soul.
Wow.
Old school soul.
Old school soul. I was about to say old school soul.
Yeah, I like soul.
Today's your last day on earth and you're about to transcend to the next world. What is the one thing that you will say, I can die peacefully because I've done?
For me, I'm a big traveler, and my bucket list, 90% of it has been about visiting places. And one place I always, and this goes to the whole spiritual aspect of things again, I visited Rome. I visited the Vatican City.
I did too.
A few times. And I'm glad I did, because it's one of those stories that is supposed to be folklore or like a Bible story that you don't experience. And growing up here in Zim and hearing about this, and I think when the Pope visited at the time, it seemed like this make-believe world and stuff. So visiting it was such an amazing feeling. And I don't think I've ever felt like that about visiting a place before. So that's definitely something I'll be very proud of.
Okay. We're packing our bags. Since you love traveling, we're packing our bags. Where are we going?
Right now, Thailand is my favorite destination in the world.
Wow.
Favorite holiday destination.
Oh, wow. It's quite reasonable as well. It
is, actually. It is. And I've been there a couple of times, but I've never seen the whole place. I want to go back every time because there's so much. There's a big country. The people are amazing, and there's just a culture there that is just really peaceful and enlightening and stuff. And then obviously it's a beautiful country.
Oh, fantastic. Any last messages to our viewers? Any last lessons to our viewers regarding life, property, anything? What are your last words to our viewers before we go?
It's a motivational one, actually. As a return, I think it's only fair to finish on that note. To everybody out in the diaspora, it's okay, Kumosha. The country needs you.
Oh, fantastic. I'm not going to add on to that. You heard what you said. So thank you so much for listening and for watching. I look forward to seeing you next week.